Episode
Loaded
9
Sport.
Does he sit second, man?
No, I don't think he does. I think Kevin Keegan probably sits second.
Oh my God, what a scandal.
Austin Eckler versus the Cards. Go and fuck the lot of you.
God, Eckler.
He's making me like I'm some sort of cameo, like I've come in and go, hand out the bag, England to win.
Hello and welcome to episode 23 of Loaded Sport, where today we are going to be previewing the divisional round of the National Football League and some huge games that are taking place in the Premier League. As well as that, we've got our third contestant in the listener lock-ins to go through, and joining me to go through it, we're going to start by introducing Sam. Sam, you was ill yesterday. You feeling any better today, mate?
Yes, much better, mate. Thank you very much for asking. Always nice to be know you're thinking of me.
It's all right. I have to, because on Monday I feel so guilty about the fact that your bets haven't come in that on a Thursday I have
Honestly,
to
you make me
put a lot
fucking
in.
seething every Saturday at 5:30. I'm sat there looking at me my coupon, just thinking that fucker's done me again.
Looking at the away games every single time, knowing that something's gone wrong somewhere. I'll do my best for you this week, mate. 100%.
Thank you. That's all I can ask.
Excellent. Kemp, how are you, mate?
Mr. Dawson, Mr. Mike,
Mr. Mike.
Mr. Mike, Mr. White.
Thank you.
Man with the mic. How are we doing?
Very good, thank you. Yourself?
Oh, living every part of my dream. Thank you, matey. I also think about Sam, but I think about him when I'm in Bath instead.
That's understandable.
You're not made of stone, are you, pal?
No, of course, I'm only human.
And last but by no means least, Skin, you all right?
Yes, mate, you?
I'm very good, thank you. You had a good week?
Yes, mate, a very good week, thank you. It's almost the weekend. We'll get stuck into what's happening at the weekend, what we're up to. But I would also like to declare that I do think about Sam. And when I think about him, it's when I'm 3 hours in and I need to get load out. So he brings on nice and quickly.
King Kong.
Well, we've got plenty of football to be talking about in the next hour or so. And before we get to the lock-ins, we've got a huge game taking place, only made bigger over the last couple of weeks due to the form that Manchester United have been in since the conclusion of the World Cup. And that is Manchester United against Arsenal. A very historical fixture. Skin, I'm going to start with you, first of all, as a United fan. We found out against Crystal Palace, after a booking to Casemiro, he will be out for the United-Arsenal game. What's your thoughts on the game and the fact that he won't be a part of it?
I'm going to start by correcting you and saying it's Arsenal against Manchester United because it is at the Emirates, so let's be fair. In terms of Casemiro, naturally is a huge miss in that midfield with Arsenal's play and his experience. Now he's been since joining Man United. Naturally, it's going to be a big loss, but I would like to put on record the likely replacement in that midfield, and that is Fred. Now, people, I've mentioned this already today to people at work, and I've got a bit of a laugh and a bit of a joke and a bit of a you don't know what you're talking about reaction, it seemed. But if you go back and watch that Manchester City game last weekend, Kevin De Bruyne, one of the best players in the world, was next to non-existent, and that was because Fred pulled a classic prime Ander Herrera on Eden Hazard, a prime Ji-Sung Park on Andrea Pirlo, and man-marked him and shadowed him all game and did a fantastic job on that. So I think that Eric Ten Hag will look at that, look at how good he was, and put him in a similar sort of position against Martin Odegaard this Sunday, which hopefully could neutralise the threat that he's provided Arsenal this season. So obviously things could change now. Casemiro's not going to be in the side, but yeah, it's a massive loss, mate. And really, I really can't call it. I really can't. I'd love to say Manchester United go to the Emirates on Sunday and complete the double, but honestly, I wouldn't be surprised at any of the three possible results. Quite honestly, I don't know about any of you other lads of being neutrals in it, but
Yeah.
as someone that's invested, I don't know what side to pick.
Yeah, I have to agree there. Why was he still on the pitch at 87 minutes? I will never, ever understand that. I think Ten Hag has had a little bit of naivety to the Premier League there. I know Kent mentioned he should have come off at half-time. You know what? Even give him to 60 minutes, because the United were in absolute control of that game for 60 minutes. If they take him off, just swap light for light with Fred or McTominay, I don't think they miss a beat. I really don't. But they left it. He got booked, and you could just tell it really affected him. The whole team just seemed to. You could see the worry on the faces, and Ten Hag stood on the sideline shaking his head, and obviously a couple of minutes later, balls it back in there with an absolute peeler of a free kick. But yeah, you're right about the Arsenal United game. It's a tough one to call. I think Arsenal probably have a slight edge. Would you say this game is bigger than the Manchester derby just gone, or which one would you say is bigger, Dawson?
No, I'd say this one, mate. Definitely, Arsenal and Manchester United were probably the Premier League's biggest rivals for a number of years, and other than maybe Manchester United against Liverpool, it's probably the biggest rivalry in the whole of the Premier League. We can talk about derbies and who's local to you, but in terms of history, you look back on the late 90s, early 2000s, it was all Arsenal and United, and this for me is the biggest fixture between the two in 15 years.
Definitely,
maybe.
yeah.
Arsenal dropped off as we all know, and they're seeing that resurgence and Arteta's hard work finally paying off. So yeah, this is probably the biggest fixture between the two, bigger than the one earlier in the season because of the position that Arsenal are in and the form that Manchester United are now in. So yeah, this for me is the biggest fixture between the two, and yeah, I'd say around 15 years, especially in the league. I know they played in the Champions League, but yeah, it's a huge game. But yeah,
you mentioned about Fred doing a job on De Bruyne, but I think to be fair, De Bruyne has not been the same player even up until World Cup. It's just we haven't seen anything from him. Obviously, pre-World Cup, he was probably best centre mid on the planet, I'd say. But for some reason, after that World Cup, being with that Belgian squad, it's just messed him up a bit, and he just hasn't seemed to have hit that same form that pre-World Cup. And I think right now, Martin Odegaard is a far better player, literally like in form. So I think it's going to take a little bit more than just Fred doing a job of what he did against De Bruyne than against Odegaard, because I think he's been absolutely outstanding so far this year.
I don't disagree with you, and I'm sure Kemp's. He's watched a lot of Arsenal games. I really don't disagree with that statement. I just think it would go a long way to try and neutralise that threat, which Arsenal are. They're a massive threat, and yeah, I'd love to say, I think Arsenal will do this. I think United do this, but as I said earlier, like it could be an Arsenal win, a United win, a draw, and nothing would really shock me. But Kemp, what do you think, mate? Again, as a neutral, someone that's got a bit of an interest in what Manchester United are doing, where do you see it going Sunday?
I think the Casemiro thing is absolutely huge, and people are right to talk about it because he is the focal point of everything that Manchester United do. In my opinion, he's defensively, he's the most competent in that midfield going forward. He's the most creative. Bruno Fernandes kind of plays that number 10 role now, which I think he's always sort of been best at. Absolutely. So he's not really involved in the middle of the park anymore as well. So I think losing Casemiro is just as big, if not bigger, than people are making it out to be. And that's why I said, within our group chat that I think he should have dragged him at half time. I agree with Sam that he could have dragged him at 60 minutes and there'd be no problem with that. But, I feel like the jeopardy of losing him against this Arsenal game was maybe, not bigger than the Palace game because you've got to take one game at a time, but it was a massive, massive factor. And I think that's the only thing that Ten Hag's done probably since he's been at Manchester United, where I've thought, he's dropped the ball a little bit there. And is it naivety because of the Premier League? Is it, like Sam said, I don't know. Is it him not trusting, McTominay or one of the other midfielders to kind of fill that void? I don't know. But I think before that happened with Casemiro and the ban, I would have probably edged towards a draw or maybe United nicking it. But I do think Casemiro is that important. And I think ultimately after that, I think Arsenal will probably, I'd just edge Arsenal to come away with the win. They'll certainly not be my lock of the week, but I'd certainly sort of err on the side of Arsenal after obviously what has happened with Casemiro. And Rashford didn't look good against Palace either. And I think
fuck you, terrible.
If he doesn't, and if he doesn't pick up his performance against Arsenal, then he's going to be they're going to be struggling big time.
What's your boy opinion of it, Ken? Arsenal fan, you mate. What's he had to say about it?
To be fair, I've not spoke to him much about this game this weekend. He tends to keep fairly quiet about games until they're sort of right around the corner or they're just about to kick off, and then he'll lay all his cards on the table. I don't think he wants to tempt fate.
No, that's fair.
He's confident. I think and he'll be the first person to correct me if I'm wrong, but I think he understands that Arsenal need reinforcements in a few key areas on the pitch.
Oh God, yeah, that's
he gets that. They lost out on the Mudryk signing, and I think they might lose out on another signing as well for another player. I can't remember his name, but I think he's a fullback. and they might be missing out on another one to even potentially Chelsea. So he understands the importance of getting players in and over the line. But I'm sure he'll be shitting himself about the game this weekend because, as I've said before, he's a very not a negative Arsenal fan, but a very sceptical Arsenal fan, given the stuff that he's seen in the past 10, 15 years. So
I've just got a
well, you
quick
just
question.
said,
sorry.
Sorry, mate. You just said about obviously Arsenal losing out on a few transfers. Obviously, they have recently, literally today, signed Leandro Trossard, have they not?
I'm not
So
sure
the
if it's been
rumours say,
confirmed
yeah.
as a signing. I know they're in talks with him. There's been a fee agreed.
I think Fab said, "Here we go." So
Yeah,
I think it's pretty
almost
much done.
Yeah, it's a done deal.
Yeah, and it's an okay signing. Trossard's played pretty well, but how many times have we seen a player signed that from a Brighton or a Villa or whatever and go to a top club and make a real impact? I'm not sure that if I was Arteta, if one of my players went down and I took Trossard on, I'm not sure I'd see it in terms of a quality standpoint as a like for like. I don't think it's a bad signing for the money. But I think they'll need a couple more than just Trossard. Not taking anything away from him, but I think they might need a couple more than that.
I personally think it's a very good signing because it offers exactly what we were debating before the World Cup between Arsenal and City, and it's squad depth. He's a good player. He's proven in the Premier League, despite playing for Brighton, despite not being a high-profile player. He's consistently for a while now played at a very good level. So putting him in that Arsenal team with that coach and surrounded by that higher level player, that's only going to elevate him. And he looks.
He's
like
not a bad signing. Don't get me wrong. I'm not looking at it thinking, "Fuck me, they've dropped ball there." I'm not thinking like that at all. I think I'm more thinking, it's an okay signing, but they'll probably need a couple more. Again, it's not horrendous, but it's not. It doesn't blow my socks off either. So yeah, I'm sure that's. I don't know if that's what he'll be thinking, but that's certainly what I'm thinking. But hey, I don't think they'll win title, and they might prove me wrong on that one as well. So we'll see.
The question I've got for you, it's on the back of the signings that you've just mentioned. I don't mind who wants to answer it first, but Kemp, you've just said they've missed out on Mudryk, they've missed out on a couple of other signings, one of which you believe's gone to Chelsea. Why is it that Arsenal, top of the league, I know a couple of weeks ago there were comments on the forum about why players would want to sign for Chelsea, but why do you think Arsenal are missing out on so many key signings that could really help squad depth? They're at the top of the league, they're playing some very nice football. Why is it that you feel they're missing out?
Well, they're being smart with their business, and it's not a bad thing. It's not a bad thing. They are being smart with their business. I think it's widely regarded and sort of fairly well known that Chelsea have probably overpaid a little bit for Mudryk, and they've offered him, what is it, an 8.5-year deal or something ridiculous like that. So I think they're sort of looking at it from their standpoint and saying, right, we're in a good position. We don't want to, overplay our hand. And if Chelsea want, if Todd Bowley wants to come along and play Football Manager, let him. And we're going to do our business and we're going to do it, on our terms. And I don't think that's a bad thing. But, I think if Arsenal lay all the cards on the table and pay Mudryk a fortune and he don't work, it could upset the apple cart. And at the minute, Arsenal do not need that. They do not need the apple cart upsetting. They need to keep on the straight and narrow. So in that respect,
they've got to where they are by doing it their way.
Yeah, and in that respect, I think Trossard's a fairly decent signing because they've not brought him in on a ridiculous amount. Again, I think he's an okay, decent signing. They've not brought him in on a ridiculous amount. He's not a massive name who's going to command, loads of money and guaranteed first team football, whereas, Mudryk potentially would. So I think they're boxing clever. It's not knocking my socks off, but maybe that's what Arsenal need to do. And maybe that's what, Chelsea are in dire straits. So maybe that's why they're making these crazy signings for all this money, and Arsenal are looking at it thinking, well, we're a few points clear. Let's just keep, steady the ship.
Yeah, and Skin, the last time the two sides met in the league, United won by 3-1. As it stands, that is the only defeat Arsenal have had in the Premier League this season. So it adds a little bit extra fuel to Manchester United to be able to do the double over the current league leaders. It gets them closer to Arsenal, of course, with a win as well. Are we expecting to see a lot more passion come from this game than what we've seen in recent Arsenal United fixtures? I know plenty of people, myself included, missed the days of Henry against Rude, Keane against Vieira. That sort of passion that Arsenal against United became sort of like a dead game, so to speak, to some people.
Yeah, like I said earlier, it's the biggest Arsenal United game in around 15 years in terms of the league. So 100%, it's going to be fiery. It's probably going to be one of the best atmospheres that Emirates has probably ever had. That might be a bit of a bold statement, but why not, considering all the circumstances? So yeah, 100%. It's prime time. It's headline football, which is what you want that fixture to be. It's what we grew up on. Our generation. It's what the generation before us remembers as proper football in quotation marks, as it's been termed a lot. So it will be good for sort of the younger generation to see what us and people older than us hold so fondly about that fixture.
But you mentioned there, Arran, the what made those derbies were the personalities. You didn't even mention Fergie and Wenger. I mean, what a rivalry that was for the longest time, and what respect shown between Ferguson, Wenger, Keane, Vieira. All these players that really got into it and had some really good battles over the years. And I think that's what's key. Key to this. I don't think it's just because Arsenal are first and United are third, and they're both looking a lot better than they have in previous seasons. It's the personalities. That's the difference. You've got Varane and Martinez, two really solid, strong personalities in that back line. Granit Xhaka is a really strong personality. Aaron Ramsdale's really starting to come out of his shell now and look really confident. Saka's a fantastic player with a great infectious personality more than anything else. But I can see there being a little bit of nastiness in the game, and that's what I like. That's what we want as football fans. We want to see that. Want to see that passion and want to see that nastiness in these sort of games that we, like you just said, Dawson, remember from our youth. So again, yes, it's because of where the clubs are and the teams are in the positions in the league. But I think just as importantly is that you're starting to see players now with real confidence, real personality, and I think that's what's going to make for a really interesting game.
Shall we, before we introduce Arran and move on to the main event, the listener lock-in, shall we put our names to a prediction?
Why not?
Go on then, Sam, you kick it off.
2-2.
That's what I was going to go with. I was going to go with that. So I'm going to say one apiece.
I'm also going to go. I'll also take one apiece because, like I said, I'm really stuck. So I'll sit on the fence and go for a goal apiece. Kent, what about you, mate? Are you going to declare a winner?
I'm going to say 2-1 Arsenal.
Interesting. How do you think it will go? 2-0 and then a late goal?
I think it'll be.
What
I think it'll be 1-0 United, and then 1-1, 2-1.
Tell you what, if Arsenal can do that and come from behind, that is the statement that they are real title contenders, won't it? So.
Yeah, it wouldn't surprise me, and if they did, I wouldn't be buzzing because it goes against the prediction that I made. But
I'm with you, mate. I'm with you.
The way it's going, I can just see, that's what I can see. I mean, Casemiro, as I mentioned.
Well, yeah. Let's not forget though. Like I said, they have beat them once this season without Casemiro. So they beat them 3-1 as well. I know they had a goal ruled out early on. That VAR ruled it out for a foul further back up the field, but they have beaten them already this season.
Yeah, but like I mentioned though, Casemiro concerned me, and that's sort of the tipping point as to why I think United won't win. I think the reason why I think Arsenal will win, and what's tipped me over completely to the other side, was Rashford's performance against Palace, because he was really, really poor. And if he does, I'm not that confident in him rebounding from that in this game. If he does, great, fantastic. But I don't think I can see it. I think I can see him having another bit of a lackluster performance.
I honestly think this game coming up is a better game for Rashford than the Palace game, because Palace sat in a lot and he was trying far too much. He was trying to beat players. He was trying to little tricks here and there, and it weren't happening for him. But if he just takes it back to basics like he will against Arsenal, he'll sit on that shoulder. He'll try and come out from left, and I think he'll be able to get in behind him. I think this is a better game for him.
No, I'm not sure. I mean, you look at the way that he performed against Palace, you're absolutely right. They did sit in and they didn't make it easy for him. But, Rashford in recent weeks, against teams that have sat in, he's still way more effective than he was in that game.
Yeah.
So I understand what you're saying. I get it. I completely understand. And, United on the break, Rashford could beat the trap and get going and motor on and score. But he's a bit, things with Rashford as well. He's a big confidence player. And I think that performance will have knocked his confidence. And like I say, I'm hoping you're right and I'm hoping I'm wrong. But, he's a confidence player. And I think that will have knocked him a little bit.
It's just to very quickly put my point in on that with Rashford. Like, he was always going to have a slower game at some point. Like, he's been in phenomenal form, the best form of his career, really, in terms of consistency over a longer period. Yeah. So he was always going to have an off game. Palace did very well to contain him, but Emirates, wider pitch, playing a team that are going to be more attacking, potentially more open. Don't forget they're going to be very similar play styles as they were in the first game at Old Trafford earlier in the season, where Rashford scored twice. So I'm not saying that
that's
he's going
what
to
concerns
play
me
this
about
weekend.
him. But that's what concerns me about him. He's a form player. Rashford is absolutely a form player. Rashford's
But it has been in the past, but
Rashford's not a player, in my opinion, that'll have 7 out of 10s all season. Rashford will be a player that'll have 10 games where he's a 9 out of 10 or an 8 out of 10, and then he'll have 15 where he's a 4.
Yeah, he'll go missing a lot.
That's what I mean. And again, I hope it doesn't happen, and I hope I'm wrong, because personally, I prefer United than Arsenal. I am a neutral in this sense, but I prefer United and Arsenal, and I've backed City to win league, so it would help my cause. just how I see the situation.
And against Palace, he played the skin role in the goal, didn't he? He got the assist of the assist.
He did, yeah, absolutely. But yeah, I just think Rashford of the past, absolutely, but this is a different Marcus Rashford we're talking about. He's had his mental health struggles, as he's widely spoken about. His new celebration of pointing to the head, is a bit of a touch on that, and how he's worked on his own mental strength, and that is paying off in his form. So I personally won't be looking at his form in the past and seeing that affecting him moving forward, because he's a different person, and clearly showing that he's a different player.
Yeah, I hope you're right. I hope you're right.
Lads, are we ready?
We are.
I'm so ready.
Then in just a few moments' time, we are going to kick off the third listener lock-in. Welcome back to episode 23 of Loaded Sport. It is now time.
Off!
Don't fuck off me. It is now time for the listener lock-in. Welcome in for the third week, the third attempt, should I say, Arran Lord. Arran,
yes,
hello.
Arran.
Welcome to Loaded Sport.
Good evening. Good evening, chaps. Good evening. I'm very happy to be here.
How are you, mate? How are you?
I'm all right, mate. Yeah. No, I'm excited. I've done my research. Buzzing when I got the call up, and it's a proud moment for me and the family. So no, I'm buzzing. Thanks for having me.
They're all listening right wireless now.
This is not your first sports audio appearance, mate. I know it's going to be going into your top one, mate. But talk us through your previous experience. What's on CV?
Yeah, so obviously you were right. This is my number one experience, but I actually had an experience 3 years ago on Talk Sport on the Drive Time show.
Nice.
With Adrian Dunham and Darren Goff.
Adrian Dunham, what a twat.
It was pre-COVID, so it was 2019, and they were discussing the 2020 England squad. And I'm driving back from a previous job, and they were discussing who they should take to the Euros that was going to be 2020. So I ring up. This is when Sheffield United were top 5, top 6 in the Prem at that time.
What a time. What a time.
And I rang up Kempy, and you'll probably back it, mate. And I thought Jack O'Connell deserved a call up at the time, but
absolutely,
I said that, and then he's not played a game for 2.5 years. So I'm glad I didn't call him up. But yeah, so
it's your fault he's been injured for 2.5 years. Then so you've cursed him.
Isn't he that actor from Derby?
Yeah, man. But no, we had a conversation, and Darren Goff was like, "Well, as a Sheffield United fan, is this the best?" And I was going, "Yeah, under Chris Wilder, the best football I've ever seen." And they were all backing me, to be fair, with Jack O'Connell, and they kind of cut me off for a guy from Reading, which summed my experience up. But yeah,
still fuming about that, aren't you?
I'm not angry or anything. I weren't searching for this guy on Facebook for a week, but no, it was an experience. Got through, and yeah, said my 5-10 minute piece on Talk Sport. But this is the number one place to be for your sport commentary and conversation. So I'm happy to be here.
There we go, Aggie. Take it away with the first question.
Yeah, the first question: who do you support and why?
So, as many people know, but for those that don't, I am a avid Sheffield United fan.
Up the Blades.
Up the Blades, correct, Sam White. But no, I'm avid Sheffield United fan. I've had
please don't name drop me for security reasons, please.
Jesus Christ.
But I've had a season ticket for many years, and it's basically down to my old man and my granddad. So my granddad's had the same season ticket for 60, 70 years. My dad took me to my first game, and then I remember going from 2004 onwards with my other grandparents. Bought my first season ticket. About 12 of the family used to go down. And yeah, it's kind of just been drilled into me, and it's kind of part of the blood and part of my weekly routine, going to the lane and watching the Blades at the moment. So yeah.
Where's your granddad's season ticket, Arran?
South Stand, Road G,
Nice.
Seat 114, Gangway G.
Gangway G, right? So you're on way towards away end then.
Yes, no, I'm Gangway H, my season ticket, because I sit with my old man and my
right.
little brother now. But yeah, we're the ones that give all the abuse to away fans, and they look at us and they go, "He's hard, him. I don't want to mess with him." So yeah, I'm the tough one at the top.
I think I saw you actually. I think all Stoke fans were sort of pointing at you.
Battering fuck at him.
We need to avoid him after game. He's he's troubling. So
it is tough, mate. I'll be honest, mate. And it's often I get police carrying me out, but it is what it is, and it's part of the game. So yeah.
Okay, let's get on with the listener lock-in then. So you've got a very high score of 1 out of 6 to beat.
Fucking hell.
I just want to jump in there, because Kerwin keeps messaging about this, and he asked that I put the disclaimer out there that he got 1 out of 5 because he had Mitrovic as his scorer who didn't play, so it is a void bet technically. So taking that into account, the average listener performance / success rate at the minute was sat at 17%, but after Kerwin pointed that out, it is now risen to an almighty 20%. So
3% by default.
Yeah. just by void. So yeah, Jason,
up the listeners.
Up the listeners. You're good friends with Jaso, Arran. I know you know that he had a shocker last week, so I would imagine you'll at least beat him. But aim for that 2 and above, which we know is known as the Kemp, to try and take top spot on the leaderboard as it stands.
100%. Just want to put a quick disclaimer out as well. If anyone's got any footage of Jay Young playing the role of a centre attacking midfielder, please send it to me. I will bank transfer you the money, but I do want the footage of him playing a cam role. So if anyone's got that, let me know.
I think I saw him do it on pro clubs once, but it's not the same, is it? So
that was his lad playing FIFA, mate, not Jay.
It's too late, Arran. He's already sold that footage to you being framed, unfortunately.
Brilliant. Okay,
anyway, go on,
so Arran, you've been asked to put together a lock for a team that you feel most confident to get a result between Friday and Sunday. So what team are you going for?
Don't do it, Arran.
Don't do it, man, mate.
The team I have selected to win this weekend for my lock-in, the reason for this is they're currently top of their current league. They are at home, unbeaten in the last 6. They've lost 3 all season, and they're playing a team that have only won 2 of the last 6. So my pick is Plymouth Argyle.
You're a fucking prick.
Mine.
That was my number one pick.
Mine as well. Shit.
That is my pick for the lock-in.
Fucking hell.
You're in knobhead because you knew I'd had them in last man standing, so you knew I would win them.
Research,
what was fantastic as well was the really slow build up to it as well, where one detail after another, and you think, oh fuck.
Yeah, because
ripping the band-aid off slowly.
Yeah, as soon as he said top of their league, I was like, he's going Plymouth, and then when he's going through what stats, I'm thinking, this is all the fucking prep that I've got for when I say Plymouth in a minute. So gutted, but yeah, great pick, mate. I would hope that's going to be a tick for you, because
thank you.
Weirdly enough, in the 3rd week, you should be the first person to get the lock right. So
we'll see. I'm not holding my breath. Ag, take it away. What's the wheel saying?
Yes, so I spun the wheel earlier, and for the first time, I get to go first.
Hey,
and I did write 2 down. I wrote 1 down, then realised it's who Arran supports, so he's going to go with them. I was putting down, and I'm going to stick by him now that he's taken my backup. I'm going to go Sheffield United to beat Hull on Friday at 7:45, and it's at home. So I've gone for a home team as well for you. So
thank you.
You're very welcome. So
yes, down the reason, and you got 2 Blades fans. Give us your reasons, and let's see if they agree or disagree.
I just think the world's apart from Hull and a lot of sides in the Championship. There's a reason why they're second and they're closest to Burnley. Both are playing fantastic football, in some good form. Granted, the other day they didn't play the greatest in the second half, but like Kemp and Arran have already pointed out, that's how you grind out the results, and that's how you get promoted and win championships. So I think they've got enough about them to see off Hull.
Like it. Kemp,
I think I agree. And if I weren't a Blade myself, I'd have probably backed him for my lock-in as well. But I'll make a point of I will absolutely never back the Blades for a lock-in, because I know as soon as I do, they'll fuck up. Although with my record, if I do, they'll probably fucking, the opposite will happen. So you never know.
No, I agree with that. We're looking at the footage today as well from training, the likes of Ollie McBurney looking like he might be coming back and plays like that. I agree with you. Being a Blade, I expect to win tomorrow. But yeah, good choice, Adam. Great choice. Great club.
Nice one. Thank you. Second up on the wheel was Skin.
I'll take that,
for
mate.
fuck's sake.
Yeah, I really wanted Plymouth. Like I said, I've picked them in my last man standing this weekend. I'm one of the final two, and I am going to take my backup, which is the other team that the last person remaining with me has picked. And that is Sheffield Wednesday at home.
Oh, you dirty bastard.
So, mate,
Prick.
at home to Fleetwood. Apologies to you Blades fans out there. Reasons for that.
That's
Sheffield
not why
Wednesday-
you're a prick. That's not why you're a prick. You're a prick because you took my lock.
Oh,
Yeah,
right, okay, that's fine.
mine too. Mine too. I'm about to say fuck Blades fans. You took me a lot, you cunt.
Fair enough. They've only lost one of the last 13. Well, even more than that. They've lost one out of the last 19. Sorry, should I say? They've only drawn 5 of them, so they're in phenomenal form. They've won. Well, I'll lose count if I start counting how many of their last home games they've won, and they've only drawn a couple. Fleetwood, not too bad away, to be fair to them. They've won 3 out of the last 5 away from home, but I just think if we're looking at teams that I'm confident will win this weekend, Sheffield Wednesday will be my my second choice behind the Plymouth that I really wanted. But yeah, second in League One behind Plymouth. Fleetwood aren't too bad away. They're 5th in the table, but their recent form compared to Sheffield Wednesday is just there's a bit of a gap there. So I'm confident enough in going Sheffield Wednesday this weekend.
Okay, next up, and hopefully this has given him enough time to find a second one if he didn't already have one written down, is Mr. Kemp.
Oh my God.
I did, and it's my third choice because Plymouth were my backup.
Oh, shit. Was Sheffield Wednesday your number one, were they then?
Yeah, Sheffield Wednesday were
okay.
my number 1, Plymouth were my number 2, so I'm down to my third string. And
They tell you what, if
tonight's
it's anything like Brock
performance-
Purdy, mate, it's not going to be too bad.
After tonight's performance so far, I'm not sure about backing them, but here we go. It's Man City to beat Wolves.
Oh my God, it's
Okay.
picked mine. Fuck's sake.
Yeah, tonight's performance, obviously, so far they've conceded two goals in quick succession. So as we record, but I'm quite confident that they'll beat Wolves. As Adam's just said, there's levels to this game and there's levels to football, and City are on a bit of a different level to Wolves the vast majority of the time. So I'm going to go Manchester City and just drag this out a little bit, just so that Sam can scramble and get himself another pick.
Yeah, I've got one, mate. It's
Don't sound too happy about
it's
it.
the
mate.
least confident lock I am ever gonna submit, right? And I have, luckily, this was my backup's backup, like I said at the beginning of the show, because I told you, didn't I? I had a feeling my locks were gonna go.
Mm-hmm.
So Man City was my number 1, Sheffield Wednesday was my number 2. Thankfully, I did do a little bit of digging, just as a last minute job out. I'm glad I did, to be honest. Have you ever heard of a lock being 19th place in the league?
Never.
No.
I mean,
It's
so
unprecedented.
I am going for Colchester, 19th place at home against Gillingham, who are rock bottom in 24.
Do you know what? It's tough that I watched the Gillingham Leicester game on the FA Cup.
Yeah,
and they've appointed. Oh, what's his name? They've got the new guy, Neil Harris, the gaffer. Kenny Jackett is director of football, but they signed 3 or 4 players from League Two that are
They've
currently
got new owners, haven't they?
Exactly. So they've got this big American investor in. Risky pick that, Sam. Where you pulled that from? I don't know.
Well, I'm going by current form, which is saying Colchester. Despite, I don't know how they're 19th. They must have come off at bottom because they've won 4 out of the last 5. Colchester and Gillingham have won once in the last 5. So I'm just going by purely recent form. I don't think we've ever had a lot, because I say this far down the table before, but it's my third pick, so you've got to excuse it. And I'm going to go purely on form. It's Colchester at home against Gillingham.
Yeah. Colchester do sit second in the League Two form table with 12 points from the last 5, ahead of teams that are a lot higher than them in the table. So, yeah, Sam, to be fair, based on recent form alone, it is a solid pick with Gillingham lying bottom still of that form table being the last 5 games. So, just based on that purely alone, it's not the worst pick in the world, and probably some generous odds to go towards you back in the locks.
That's a good point, actually. I'm just going to add it now.
Okay, Arran.
Come.
Arran, back round to you for the goal score. Anyone from the Premier League all the way through to the National League?
So this player I've picked, due to the team flying high at the moment, they're on a good run of form. They're playing against a team that they beat an opposition last week comfortably. But my pick for the goal scorer is Ismail Assar from Watford against Rotherham on Saturday.
Okay. For a moment, with what you were saying there, I thought you were going to steal mine, but thankfully you haven't. So hopefully, I hadn't even taken a backup this week. I'm that confident that no one's going to take him, so I got a bit worried then. Okay. In the typical snake format, Sam, over to you.
Hey,
Call him a snake.
I am gonna have to go. I'm gonna have to default here, aren't I? And just go to the machine that is Erling Haaland. I think I've backed him every single week whenever it's dropped to me. I just think they're playing Wolves, as we know. Obviously, what was it? Kempslock, was it?
Yeah.
So yeah, I think it's got to be a bounce back game at this point, and especially as we're recording, currently 2-0 down at home to Tottenham. They've got no choice but to get a win by hook or by crook against Wolves at the weekend. So yeah, I think he'll be a big part of that, and I think he'll score.
Okay, Kemp up next.
Yeah, Sam, bless your heart. You've took mine, which is fine. The exact same reasons, especially with tonight and what's going on. Ultimately, you'd expect City to have the bit between the teeth at home, a game that they really should win, and Haaland to have the bit between his teeth as well. So I was going to go with that. But no matter. I have got a backup, and his name is Johnson Clark-Harris. He's
nice.
Peterborough United's top goal scorer this season. He's got 13 goals in 25 games. They are playing Charlton, who are a bit so-so this season.
Yeah.
They've conceded 36 goals, so, more than, the teams below them in some respects. So they do ship a few goals, and Johnson Clark-Harris scores a few goals. So fingers crossed he can score one this weekend and get me another notch on the leaderboard. So Johnson Clark-Harris for me.
Okay, Skin.
I'm going to go to the Saturday lunchtime kickoff, Liverpool versus Chelsea, and I'm taking Mohamed Salah.
Ooh.
Now, may not seem like the most obvious pick. I will point out he is my first choice this week, and the reason for that is he's not having his best season by a country mile with only 7 Premier League goals so far this season, but in games versus teams that we would typically call the Big Six, he has 5 goals in 5 goals in 4 games. So I think it's only Arsenal, I want to say, that he's not scored against. He's scored in every other game against the Big Six so far. So if he's going to score and get back in some kind of form, it's going to be Saturday for me, especially with the form that Chelsea are in. 7 losses in the last 10 games. So yeah, Mo Salah for me.
Big game player.
He was my backup. So yeah, I think that's a decent pick as well. Well done.
Thankfully, mine somehow hasn't been taken. So I'm just looking over the stats to make sure I've got everything right, and I have. Last week, his side scored 5 in a 5-0 win. He scored upon his return to this team. He did. He did. When he first played for them, he scored 31 goals in 54 games before making it to the Premier League.
How many clean sheets has he kept? Because obviously he's Golden Glove winner probably.
The side is up against hasn't had a clean sheet since the 2nd of December. So I'm going for Charlie Austin to score for Swindon against Walsall.
Charlie Austin? Wait, when you're in Australia?
He was playing for Swindon.
Swindon now.
I don't think Charlie Austin's ever had a bigger fanfare than that right there.
I know,
Mate, to be fair, he wanted him a couple of weeks ago when he first signed for Swindon. And obviously, I used to live in Swindon, so Swindon have seemed to have this strange trend, not so much the last 5 years or so.
Swindon a lot.
But they had this strange trend of having a striker that was way too good for them, including Charlie Austin back in the day. That's kind of where he made his name before. As Adam said, he started to move up the ranks and eventually played in the Premier League. So I think Adam's living on past glories. Charlie Austin is not the player he used to be. I'm a massive fan of him. I will put that out there. But yeah, he's obviously gone back there as a bit of a homecoming hero.
Swan song.
Say it how you want, mate. He scored in 100% of the games he's played for them since he went back.
How many games did he play in there, Adam?
One.
Conversion, I like it.
Right,
Sam Allardyce for England, man.
Right, greatest manager. Onto the
third greatest manager ever behind Sir Alf Ramsey and Kevin Keegan.
There you go.
Onto the wild card then, Arran. Over to you.
So I've gone for a team that are currently 5th in their form table in the league. They've won the last 3. They are at home. And my team is the home of Mr. Tyson Fury. So I'm going to back Morecambe this weekend as my wild card.
That's my backup, you bitch.
Spicy.
Is it?
So I'm going with Morecambe this weekend for my my wild card pick.
I thought Morecambe was safe there. Jesus.
Nice.
Not when I've been spending hours on head to head.
He's had readers on, hasn't he?
He's not messing about, this kid.
I've had the glasses on this week, mate. I've been researching. Don't worry about that.
Yeah, I am worried. You just took it.
Now you're worried your first choice about to go somewhere.
It is, isn't it? Nailed on.
Right, it's Adam, innit?
Well,
Adam,
it is
Adam.
me, and I don't have a backup, so thankfully it's me first. My wild card is bottom of the Premier League, Southampton, to beat Aston Villa.
You
Break it down.
fucking prick.
Oh, first choice or backup, Ken?
First fucking choice.
Oh, brutal. Go on, Aggie.
Southampton have won the last 3 games. They are bottom of the league, but I think there's something in that game that just makes me think that Southampton could go out there and cause an upset. The confidence they've got from beating City, albeit in the Cup's got to be playing somewhere for them. So I think there's a very real chance they're going to upset Villa.
Fair enough.
Skin, over to you.
Is it me next?
It is you next, yeah.
Oh, okay. I'm really stuck on 2. I've put 2 teams down, and I've not committed to one being my first choice, and the other being my backup. And to be honest, I'm really, really, really struggling to the point where I might just say someone else go next, and come back to me. But right, I'll go with the second choice, because my first choice it's neck and neck on the bookies odds, so I don't want any grey areas. So Kemp, you picked a Peterborough player as your scorer earlier.
Clark Harris, correct.
Yep, I'm going to take Charlton to win that game at Peterborough. Reason being, Charlton are in relatively decent form, winning 3 out of their last 5. That one of those losses was away at Man United, as we know, in the Cup. So 3 wins out of their last 4 league games. Peterborough have been in pretty shocking form. They're not the team that they have been in the past. It's one of the reasons why they've brought back in Darren Ferguson. But they have lost 3 out of the last 4 home games in the league. Charlton aren't great away either. But again, I just think it's one of those games where Charlton could nick a win and be one of those where I look at Saturday evening thinking, they'd have been an half decent pick for the wild card. So yeah, I'll go Charlton.
Okay, Kemp, have you got yourself a backup?
Yeah, I've got myself a backup. Don't you worry. So I have gone for a bit of a curveball, and Dawson probably won't like this one because it's backing against his man. But I've gone for Sunderland to beat Middlesbrough. 12 o'clock kickoff on Sunday.
You mentioned this, didn't you, Arran, the other day?
Yeah, I mean, I just thought the stadium alive, probably the same reasons what you chose, to be fair, Kem. Like
it's local derbies are always toss-ups. Everybody knows that. I feel like Middlesbrough, in that Carrick got off to a fantastic start. Dawson, you were absolutely right to hype him up as much as you did. I don't think anybody can argue with that. But I feel like in more recent games they've struggled. They beat Millwall in their last game, but it was far from convincing from what I saw and read. And then they got battered by Brighton 5-1, albeit obviously in the Cup, with Brighton being in the league above. But I don't know. I just feel as though anything can happen in a local derby. Sunderland Stadium, as Aaron's just said, will be rocking, and feel like they could nick it. So I'm going Sunderland as my wild card.
Okay, Sam.
See if Sam takes the other pick that I had ready, and I'll drop it if not.
So yeah, I'm quite lucky because they were my backup and they've not gone. So quite happy with that. It's Bristol City at home to beat Blackburn.
Okay.
Bristol City currently 17th in the league. Blackburn are 5th. Bristol City unbeaten in the last 3, and Blackburn have won 1 in the last 4. So I'm just going by the home form there, and I've got a feeling Bristol City could just put a spanner in the works for Blackburn.
Okay.
The other team that I'd prepped was Forest to win at Bournemouth, but
I'll never like them in my life.
I'll not ever go for Forest again. It's put me off now after everything that happened last time. So there we go. Right, so that's the first half of the listener lock-in done. Skin, you've got 3 more fixtures for us.
Yes. So Arran, this is for you specifically, mate, to complete your 6 questions for 6 potential points to stick yourself somewhere on that leaderboard where at the end of May we'll review it and see where you land. So I need score predictions for the following 3 games, please, mate. And the first one is, as always, the team that you support, Sheffield United versus Hull.
Oh, it'd be an interesting game. But I do back us. Bramall Lane, Yorkshire Derby. Can't see Hull scoring, so I'm going to go for 3-1 to the Blades.
3-1 to the Blades. Your second game is the Saturday early kickoff that we mentioned already, and that is Liverpool versus Chelsea.
Difficult fixture, considering both teams' form at this present moment in the league. But I just think Anfield, Chelsea, with the position they're in, just think Liverpool might have a little bit too much for them. I'm going to go Liverpool 2-1.
Liverpool 2-1, nice. And your third and final score prediction, complete in your 6 questions overall, is the game that we discussed earlier in the football section, the game of the weekend, Arsenal versus Manchester United.
So I think Casemiro being suspended for the game is a massive loss for Man United, especially going to the Emirates. If he was playing, I'd have probably looked at a draw, but with that, I'm going to go for an Arsenal 2-0 win.
2-0, wow, clinical.
Oh, very interesting. So just to confirm then, mate, your lock is Plymouth, your scorer is Sarr for Watford, your wild card is Morecambe, you've got Sheffield United to beat Hull 3-1, Liverpool to beat Chelsea 2-1, and Arsenal to beat Manchester United 2-0. We'll review those on next week's review show, mate. I would like to say you can't do any worse than what's happened so far, but you never know. One correct answer out of the possible. We'll call it 11 just for Kerowin's benefit. Still isn't the best percentage, but we'll before we move on to preview divisional round in the NFL, Arran, we'll end on the same question that we're going to ask everybody throughout this segment and throughout the rest of the season. Who is your sporting hero and why?
So my sporting hero, on reflection, is going to be a Sheffield United player. He's probably not sung from the rooftops as much as he should be, but he was the main centre half during my come up at Sheffield United, the big, hard, tough man, the number 5 at the back, captained us in the Premier League in 2006 and 7. My sporting hero is the big centre half himself, Mr. Chris Morgan.
Happy days. Kemp, you happy with that?
Yeah, absolutely delighted, and I completely agree, in the sense that Chris Morgan's an absolute legend of the lane. Met him a few times, loveliest bloke in the world when you meet him. But get on the wrong side of him and he'll give you a kick in the arse and the rest of it. Yeah. So top quality bloke by all accounts. Top blade. Was never the best footballer, but he were an hard man and you won't mess with him. And in my opinion, like I say, a definite legend of the lane. And he was the focal point of that centre back partnership when with Jagielka when I was on the club at the lane as well. So fond memories of that team and fond memories of Chris Morgan. So we're delighted that you picked him there, Arran.
Was he the one with shit on his hands, Gaffer?
Yeah, not for he was actually. Yeah, he was. He was. Took him on then. Yeah.
Just
fantastic.
A quick follow-up question for you, Kemp. Would you dare tell him to his face that he's not the best footballer?
With Chris Morgan?
He'd probably agree with you, to be fair.
Yeah, because he'd agree. Chris Morgan would 100% agree and say, yeah, we're fucking shit, but we're off.
Yeah, you won't mess with him. You won't mess with him.
Absolutely not. I can remember my fondest memory of Chris Morgan is we were playing Reading and Stephen Hunt played for Reading and he was a right nasty little bastard.
Yeah, horrible fucker he was.
Horrible little kid. And he had a bit with Morgan. And at half time, Chris Morgan took his boot off and chased him down tunnel. I'll always remember it. Brilliant.
You got to miss shit like that in football, haven't you?
Yeah, he's a big.
Don't
big
make
guy,
him like.
big guy.
Don't make him like that anymore.
No,
bring it back.
Hard as nails.
Arran, it's been an absolute pleasure, mate, having you on. Like I said, we'll discuss and review your predictions next week on the review show. But yeah, until then, mate, like I said, absolute pleasure. Look forward to speaking to you soon. And we'll be back shortly to discuss the divisional round in the NFL playoffs.
Cheers for that, Arran.
Cheers, lads.
Welcome back to episode 23 of Loaded Sport, where we're now going to start previewing the divisional round of the NFL season. We're down to just the
Let's
last.
go.
I was going to say we're down to the last 16 teams. We're not down to the last 16 teams. We're down to the last 8 teams. I can't count. Last 8 teams. 8 teams. My math is shit. Last 8 teams. There we go. We'll start with the locks, and after doing the wheel, the first name up was Mr. Kemp. Before you do say yours, actually, I've just got to say that after last week, we did decide that we could say the same as each other because there's only a few games to pick from. However, you can't pick the same scorer as somebody else.
That's correct.
So with that in mind, take it away.
Okay, no problem at all. So I am going to go against all of my instincts and everything that I'm hoping for.
Oh no! I don't think we know what's coming.
The Philadelphia Eagles.
Oh,
it breaks my fucking heart to do so.
Stinks that.
It breaks my heart to do so. Honest to God, it really
again.
does. Yeah, but I look at the teams, I look at the games. And I wish I did, but I look at the teams and I look at the games and I just think it's the one that's kind of more clear cut than any others, in my opinion, looking at it from face value.
I disagree.
I was stuck on the Eagles or the 49ers. I wasn't quite sure, but I went with the Eagles in the end because, I'm hoping that with my record of locks of the week, that my lock will be wrong. So I'm picking the Philadelphia Eagles for that reason.
Should we just end the show there? Because I feel like it's just
it's a bit of a bombshell, isn't it? That
I know. I look at the Eagles' offense, and they just do things so well. They do so many good things so well. And we played really well against the Vikings. We deserved the win, but I just think the Eagles are a bit of a different kettle of fish, and I think it'll just be too much, especially away, on the road at their stadium. I think it'll just be a stretch too far.
I tell you what it is a crying shame that our old boy Mudge is no longer with us on air.
He's not dead.
He's not dead, by the way.
I had to add on here at the end of that. I realise he's no longer with us.
He's just got a busy life.
He's a busy boy. Obviously, he's an Eagles fan as well, so I'd love to have had a conversation with you, pair, on here today. But obviously, he is a busy boy. Bless him.
Yeah, well, we're in Newcastle. I know we said we'd talk about it, but we're in Newcastle, all of us, this weekend for a stag do, and we'll be finding a sports bar to watch the game. So we'll get a few of Mudge's thoughts on the result, whatever that might be, and what happened, and we'll make sure to mention them. But I suppose if anything, we've got to appreciate and acknowledge the fact that the lengths that Kemp will go to make sure that he gets a tick on the locks by going against the one result that he doesn't want to happen this weekend.
Literally, I'm that desperate for a lock to come in. I'm just willing to sink to the bottom of the barrel. If do you know what I mean? If a terrorist organisation had a football team, I'd feel like it at this point because I'm just so desperate.
Jesus. And on that note, Addy, is it?
Up next on the wheel was myself, and I'm quite surprised that this isn't who Kemp went for. And I'm going to go for the Chiefs to beat the Jags. I think with everybody, it's kind of a unanimous thing, isn't it? Everyone's just expecting the Chiefs to get to the Super Bowl from the AFC, and to do that, they've got to beat the Jags. And although the Jags did well to come back against the Chargers, the Chiefs are just a different level, and I think they're just going to have no problem seeing them off.
I may as well jump in here because I'm
next.
Yeah, I'm gonna wedge my sen in because I'm.
Are you next? You've got to respect the wheel. Are you?
Yeah,
next?
but I'm just gonna double down, mate. I'm also taking the Chiefs to beat the Jags. May as well just add that in.
Well, I'll triple down then and say I've also got the Chiefs to beat the Jags.
Have you actually?
Yeah, I have. Yeah.
Go on.
No, go on, mate. Go on.
I was just going to say when Kemp says he was struggling between the Niners and the Eagles for the most obvious, I was quite surprised at that because
Shall I tell you why? Shall I tell you why I said that just before you carry on? Is I couldn't get the Jags' second half performance out of my head. I literally could not get it out of my head, and I looked at that offense in the second half and how it was running, and I was just thinking, if they play like that, I can't see anyone stopping them.
No,
so maybe it's just looking at that maybe it's just that little bit of bias as watching that second half and just thinking,
Maybe.
I can't get that out of my head. But carry on. Sorry.
I just think obviously going back to that exact game, the Chargers are they're a soft team. They've clearly got a soft head coach.
No, you're right.
And I think they just cannot afford to get to that bad start against the Chiefs because they will not be able to make that up. If they go 20 odd points down early on, I don't care who's on the other team. They ain't making that up. So yeah, I think Chiefs to beat the Jags, I would say personally, is probably the safest one so far. Touch wood, obviously, playoff football, anything can happen, but I would personally say Chiefs to beat the Jags is the most sure thing this weekend.
Yeah,
I agree.
My backup were the Niners, but I've obviously stuck by the Chiefs. I don't know why I've written a backup for these when
I almost did the same. I started typing backup, and they're like, "Oh wait, just delete that."
Well, to be fair, Aggie, didn't you do that last week when I picked the Niners and you went, "Oh, I'll go like someone else then"?
Yeah, I think I went.
That one me went.
Or the
I
week
picked the
before.
Bills.
I think I went Bengals to beat Ravens, didn't I?
Yeah, something like that. But yeah, I completely agree with everything you just said there, Sam. If we're going with locks, the result we're most confident in, it's the Chiefs for me.
Same. Okay, as the wheel did go, it was Sam next, followed by Skin last. So, Skin, you get to go first.
I fucked my set up there, hadn't I?
No. The wheel did show it as Sam next, followed by Skin.
When you jump, yeah.
So it were
when
you
jumped
next.
in,
You
it
were
was
right
your
to jump
go.
in, but
yeah, but I've jumped in. So
no, the wheel said you were next anyway.
Right to jump in. It was your pick.
Adam never said whose go it was. You just said I'll jump in here.
I've got lucky there. I just realised if I did leapfrog you, then on some could have fixed an all there, silly boy. Okay, scorer.
Wait,
Skin.
Oh, is it?
Are you fucking
right? Everyone
I'm
stop.
going to bed.
Everyone stop. Right, you jumped in. Aggie had never said who was next up when you jumped in, and it turned out you were next up anyway. So which means I was after that, which means I'm up first for the next score. We're good?
I've got you.
We're good. Let's go. Who's had a can this week?
Not me.
So, as I said, as you said, Aggie, we're picking separate scorers, and as I said, I've not picked a backup because I'm very confident that even if I was last, this player wouldn't be picked, but we'll see. So I'm going to go for a player that this season is tied 18th for receptions. He is 14th for receiving yards. That's receiving yards, to give you a little hint there. And he is 10th for plays of 20 or plus yards. He is a player that has the same amount of touchdowns as Justin Jefferson and Jalen Waddle, and he has more touchdowns than Tyreek Hill. He is playing against a defense that has allowed the most passing touchdowns in the regular season and playing with a quarterback that is likely to have to throw hard to keep up with the team that they are playing. So my pick for scorer this week is Christian Kirk to score a touchdown for the Jacksonville Jaguars.
Yeah, I like that. Sam, you're next.
I'm just going to be absolutely boring and just go with the guy that every man in his dog backs. I'm going to go for CMC. Is he obviously playing Dallas? I think that could potentially be the game of the weekend. I think Dallas were very, very good against the Bucs.
Fantastic, mate.
They afforded to miss 4 field goals, 4 extra points. Yeah. So they need to sort the kicker out first and foremost. Dallas do, and I think it's going to be an absolute shootout. I know the Niners have got the number 1 defense in all of football, so there is that side to it. But I think it's going to be an absolute thriller. It's a proper NFC matchup in it. That you see the Niners logo and the star.
That's old school legacies.
Pure old school football. And I think it's going to be an absolute show out. And I think CMC will bag.
Okay.
Like it.
I wrote 3 down, knowing that I'd at least be able to choose one. So I'm surprised to have 2 of them left. Yes, CMC's the one.
You say that.
Gone.
What if you were last on the wheel and all 3 of those have been picked?
You know the funny thing is, I know who Ag's about to pick.
Do you?
Oh,
I know.
Oh, mate, I really want to know.
Put it on record.
I'm
get it on record.
I'm closing the app, so if you want to send it in Facebook.
No, I'm just going to say it.
Say it.
Do you want me to pick it?
Tell me if I'm
the listeners.
Tell me if I'm right or wrong. You're going for Miles Sanders.
Me?
Yeah.
No. He's not even one of my 3.
Wow. Miles Sanders was your boy in the season.
Yeah, he was.
No. My boy in the season is who I'm going for.
Okay.
I'm going for Jerick McKinnon.
Of course.
It's fair. Of course it is. Should have known.
He is actually 3rd on my list, but I'm going to go with him as my backup anyway. The Chiefs against the Jags. I think it's going to be a very cruised victory for the Chiefs. And Jerick McKinnon just gets so involved in that offense. I can't see a situation where he doesn't score for them. So I'm standing by my boy and going for Jerick McKinnon.
You think it's going to be comfortable, do you, Chiefs?
I think it's going to be comfortable. Yeah, I think it's going to be similar to how San Fran finished the game with us. I think there's going to be some that aren't even like first choices that are going to be finishing that game.
Wow. I don't agree with that myself. I think it will be a pretty close game, but I do think Chiefs will come out on top.
It's the difference between the Chiefs and the Chargers, though. Don't forget, as fantastic as that Jags win was, they were getting absolutely battered. And if that happens again on Saturday evening,
I agree.
Chiefs aren't a team that are going to let them back into it. So,
they, I suppose,
No, I agree with that.
Okay, Kemp, over to you.
I'm going to stick with the Kansas City Chiefs, and I'm going to go with Travis Kelce.
Yes, top boy.
It'll be I know I've not backed the Chiefs to win. I think they will on record, but we've been through our locks. But what I do think it'll be is a very high scoring game, regardless.
I think so.
Travis Kelce is, if not the main focal point of that offense, very close to it. And I can't see him not getting involved in a touchdown. So Travis Kelce for me.
I like it.
My backup didn't go in the end. I did have someone from the Eagles, Sam. I went for AJ Brown as my backup.
Yeah, I did look at it myself.
Who was your number one, Aggie?
CMC.
Oh, okay, fair enough.
Get in.
But obviously didn't use him. Okay, wild card time. Kemp, you kick us off.
Oh, wow. Okay. Oh, so I did deliberate over this one. But in the end, I've gone with the Cincinnati Bengals to beat the Buffalo Bills.
Like it.
I think I mentioned before on the podcast that I don't think Josh Allen is quite the same as he was. Seems a little bit more erratic. Is that because they've lost, their offensive coordinator, the best head coach in the National Football League, perhaps? I feel like the Bengals are a really good football team, and I don't think the Bills have quite been at the level that people expected them to be in the season and now in the postseason. So I think the Cincinnati Bengals are going to come out with a win. So they're my wild card.
That's what I've got first of all. Now I'm stuck in two minds whether to stick by that or go for the team I've got as my backup.
I
think it's up to you, mate.
I think I'm going to go for my backup.
Oh, here we go.
And the reason why these were down as my backup is because I honestly thought Kemp was taking him as his wild card.
Yeah.
I'm going to go with the Giants to beat the Eagles.
Oh,
the who? Sorry,
the whoa.
I'm not really sure. I don't.
The New York Football Giants.
There it is. Sell the fucker
to beat the Eagles.
Tell me why. Why are the Giants going to beat the Eagles?
It's similar sort of thing, isn't it? I mean, the Eagles have had that bye week, and the Giants are just so confident. They played so well in wildcard weekend against the Vikings, and I think against the Eagles, it's one of them games, isn't it? It's NFC East. Both sides played each other twice already this year. The Giants are already going to have a bit behind them where they want to get back at the Eagles. And I saw Skin post something. I think it was Skin that posted it the other day that every time the Giants have won a game in the playoffs, they've won the big one. So why bloody not?
Why bloody not indeed, Adam. I hope you're right.
Me too.
And wants to switch it now. I'm surprised Kemp didn't go for Giants as his wild card because then he couldn't lose either way. So
that's true.
I'm not sure what the rules are on that, but
we make them as we go along with these rules anyway, don't we? Right, Sam, up next for the wild card.
Yeah, so I essentially have got the exact same two as you as my first choice and backup, and I will stick with my first choice, and I'm going to go with the Bengals to beat the Bills. I don't know. I'm just thinking, obviously, with everything that's gone off in the Bills, could it be one game too much emotionally? Let's be absolutely clear. If Tua was playing for the Dolphins last week, I genuinely believe the Dolphins win that game.
I agree. Definitely.
They couldn't get the offense working at all. Couldn't get started. They had so many poor penalties that get it away towards the end, delay games and all that. I honestly think the Dolphins have them in that game, and I just think Kemp's absolutely right. Josh Allen is not playing to the level that we all predicted preseason that he would play. And for that reason, I'm going to take Joey Burr because I think he's ice cold when it comes to these situations. I think they're going to have too much for them, and they'll beat the Bills.
Go Tigers.
Okay, and last of all, Skin.
Just before you jump into that, because I know that's obviously wrapping up the show. Going on to my usual usual 7. Oh, is that Skin? Is his prediction?
Yeah.
You
fuck
do
me.
not want me to fucking do
Mate,
anything
I hate
today.
you tonight, don't I? I thought it was taking away to end the show. Carry on.
No,
Carry on.
mate. My wild card. Well, I think we're gonna have to have a discussion in the week, lads, for how we're gonna do the locks and wild cards for NFL next week with only 2 matchups. But I suppose we
Yeah.
could still do it. So it's tough because we've got 4 teams to pick from, haven't we? We've got Dallas Cowboys to beat San Francisco, which I don't think will happen. We've got Jacksonville Jaguars to beat the Chiefs, which, as you can tell by a lock or 3 of our locks, I don't think will happen. So we're stuck between Bengals and Giants. And as much as I'd love to see Kemp in the flesh going absolutely mad about in tears, telling us about how playoff DJ is the new playoff Eli and they're going to win it all, and I just can't see it happening. So I suppose the wild card or the least favoured team that I'm most confident in winning is the Cincinnati Bengals for similar reasons to what Sam said there. The Damar Hamlin, health issue was during a game between Bills and Bengals only what 3 weeks ago, 2 weeks ago.
Yeah.
So it's I wasn't really deep into the game for us to get a good sort of eye on where those teams were at against each other, unfortunately. But Joey B in the playoffs, he's got an 80% win rate. He's won 4 games. He's only lost 1, which was the Super Bowl last year. And Josh Allen, like we've said, didn't look at his best last week, and Dolphins probably would have won if they had their first choice quarterback in. So yeah, that's the one that, to be honest, I've only got any kind of confidence in happening. So yeah, I'll join Sam and Kemp in going for the Bengals to win on Sunday afternoon, or Sunday evening, should I say.
I've just got a question on the back of that then, because you've both mentioned that if Tua starts the game for the Dolphins, they beat the Bills. There's been arguments that if Lamar started the game for the Ravens, they beat the Bengals. Would you not have the same sort of argument for going for the Bills up against the Bengals?
It is definitely there to debate, I guess. Tyler Huntley played very well, actually. Huntley, I don't think he didn't really do too much wrong. He had a couple of big runs, so I think comparing Huntley to Skylar Thompson, I think is night and day. Skylar Thompson just could not get going at all. Obviously, for fair enough. It's in playoffs. It is a hard game for a rookie just to get landed in that spot and just tell him to go and win in Buffalo. But I think Huntley was completely different. He looked okay, and I think he was just beaten by a better team and obviously coaching decisions at the time when they were on 3rd down, went for the reach over the goal line, got fumble return, as the rest is history, as they say. So I think it is slightly different comparing the two, because I do think Huntley just played well. It weren't like Huntley threw a stinker, and if Lamar had been there, it might have dragged him over the edge. But you don't know, as you say.
Okay, so with it being the divisional round, I think we're best off now looking through the scores and just giving a prediction similar to what we did with the wild card, just giving a score prediction for each of the games. We're going to start with the early-ish game, 9:30 start on Saturday, the Chiefs against the Jags. Sam, we'll start with you.
Chiefs by 10.
Okay, Kemp?
Chiefs by 7.
Skin?
Chiefs by 17.
I'm going to go Chiefs by 21.
Oh my God.
Jesus.
So yeah, I think it's going to be a clear runaway win for the Chiefs. Up next, the Eagles against the Giants.
God.
I can't wait to get
Skin.
it.
Can we save Kemp for last?
Yeah, Skin start.
Eagles, Giants. Eagles. Oh, I'm so sorry, Kemp. Eagles by 3.
Oh God, that's agonising.
Sam?
Oh fuck. Fuck. Giants by 1.
Oh shit!
wow.
The bed. Fucking hell! My headset just fell off. I didn't see that coming. Oh,
Can I just say, because again, as I say, we are in Newcastle with Mudge and Kemp. I'm watching it live. Imagine Jags versus Chargers, but that's what happens in Giants or Jags in that situation.
There you go. Kemp's wrecking casino, if that's please.
I'm going to go Eagles by 6.
Okay.
So Kemp?
the Eagles by 3.
Fucking, I'm lone wolfing it.
Right, up next, the Sunday game at 8 o'clock. The Bills
Sunday.
against the Bengals. Sam.
Yeah, so obviously these are my wild card, and
wild.
Don't matter, mate. Giants are my wild card, and I've still gone Eagles.
Yeah, I'm feeling that. To be honest, I'm feeling that. I am gonna go. No, fuck it. I'm gonna go Bengals by 3.
Okay, Kemp.
Bengals by 7.
Skin.
Bengals by 4.
Oh my god.
Ooh, baby.
I was going to go Bengals by 7 as well, so I'm going to go Bengals by 6 just to be different.
Clean sweep.
Still
Wow,
going with
that's
Bengals.
really surprised me.
That's crazy.
Really surprised me. The 2-1 Bengals are.
They've just got that experience, haven't they?
The last one then in the NFC, the San Francisco 49ers against the Dallas Cowboys. Skin.
It's a
I'm
tough
really
one, I
hoping you
think.
think, yeah, it's so hard because, like you said, Sam, Cowboys were absolutely brilliant. I've since the midway point, I've had San Fran making the Super Bowl, so I'd
got to stick with it, mate. Got to.
Yeah, I am. I don't. Right. Okay. Yes, I'll stick with Niners, and I think Cowboys bottle it, and it's by 14.
Oh dear, that's not what I was expecting.
What did you just say?
Niners by 14.
Okay.
You thought he said 40, didn't you?
Well, I thought he said Cowboys to begin with.
Oh.
No, Niners by 14. I went Niners, and then Cowboys bottle it by 14.
Right. Okay. Kemp.
Niners by 6.
Sam.
I'm struggling. I really am struggling with this one.
It's a close one, isn't it?
Yeah.
Should be a great game.
Yeah. When's this on the
Sunday
schedule?
night.
Sunday, 11:30. Unfortunately, we're going to be tired Monday morning.
Yeah.
Well, saying that, we'll all be in bed because we'll be knackered from Newcastle.
Yeah, it's one of them.
So.
I'll just say out the first quarter goes on, or I'll just get to half time. Next minute, you fucking balls deep in the third quarter.
3 hours later.
Yeah. Niners, Cowboys. God, that's so tough. I'm going to say Niners by 4.
I'm going to go with Niners by the single point.
Ooh.
Between the two. That is all the divisional games. This time next week, we'll go through the conference games as well. But lads, thanks very much.
Championship weekend, mate.
It is, yeah. The conference championships, the championship
just
weekend.
Before,
however you want to.
Just before you wrap up, obviously, I did jump into Skin in front of Skin. Just on the obviously the betting that we normally do on the locks. I have decided to chuck Mr. Lords in, and I've gone with adding Plymouth to the what is a 7-fold. So that's Sheffield United, Sheff Wednesday, Plymouth, Man City, Colchester. Oh, that Colchester pick's going to give me fucking fits in it. The Kansas City Chiefs and the Eagles, obviously, we've all piled on the Chiefs there, and that brings it just a smidge under 14-1. Please bet responsibly.
Okay, lads.
I assume because we're together for the Sheff Wednesday game and the Chiefs game that if they both come in, you're going to buy me a pint.
Why not, mate? Why not? As long as the ACCA wins.
Oh, as long as the whole ACCA wins.
Yeah.
All right, fair.
Lads, thank you very much. That is all we've got time for. Make sure you're following us on social media. Skin.
Loaded Sport on Facebook. You can also join our Loaded Sport community forum. Just type that in and request to join. TikTok got some really good content going on there at the moment, and the numbers as well. That's at Loaded Sport. It's the same on Twitter as well, where Sam is feisty and fiery and putting out some good stuff on there as well. Instagram at Loaded_Sport, and if you want to listen to us, it's Loaded Sport on Spotify and or YouTube.
There we go. We'll see you on Tuesday.